Hello. In this class, we will be dealing with the aesthetics of the Indian miniature tradition. When we look at the history of Indian painting, there are two distinctive traditions, the mural tradition and the miniature tradition. In this session, we will be analyzing the evolution of the aesthetic thought which formulated the miniature painting tradition. Though the earliest known mural paintings in India date back to 2nd century BC, the first surviving miniature format paintings come from 10th century. They are found in a Buddhist manuscript of the Pala kingdom. Similar books exist with a distinctive style of illustrations. They are stylistically similar to paintings from Ajanta. The school of miniature is known as the Eastern School of Miniature. The miniatures on the western side of India from the period show another distinctive style and aesthetics follows the Jain school of thought. The earliest Jain miniatures are on palm leaf and from the same period. The images are painted on layered sheets of palm leaf, stacked and tied in a book form. They usually have a wooden cover on front and back with painted images on top. Jain school of thought is based on the belief that 24 Tirthankaras, mendicant masters, existed, with the last one being Vardhamana Mahavira. Jain religion is totally non-violent in its philosophy. Two schools of Jain monks exist, the Shvetambaras, monks who wear white cloth, and Digambaras, monks who go about naked. The term Digambara literally means a person who wears space and direction as his cloth. It is actually related to the idea of meditation, where a person renounces everything, even his own identity and ego, to attain a state of universal oneness. We are familiar with Jain Tirthankara images through the famous sculptures. Incidentally, world's tallest statue is that of Vardhamana Mahavira. It is situated in Shravana Belagola in Karnataka. The style follows the Digambara faith. The earliest known Jain miniatures also show the Digambara Jain Tirthankaras in iconic figurative style. They are painted with opaque tempera on palm leaves. Usually the paintings have a red background. The figuration is very frontal without any bhanga, that is flexion, to the body. The figure stands still without the presence of any gestural movement. Because Jain and Buddhist thought preached the philosophy of detachment and non-action, it is only natural that the figuration is minimal and shows no body movement. The Murti Rupam, the idol figurine, is shown directly looking into the viewer and vice versa. The presence of a rich and wealthy merchant class in the western region of India contributed to the development of this style of miniature. Rich Jain merchants assigned painters and scribes to prepare books and offered these books to the temple libraries. The upkeep of libraries was part of the religious tradition of Jains. It is stated that in the 5th century, a famine resulted in the death of many scholars. This caused a great damage to the oral tradition of transferring knowledge. Then a council of scholars and monks were formed to write down books from oral to written form and preserve them for future generations. This council, now known as the Vallabhi Council, successfully transferred numerous books to written form. The earliest Jain illustrated manuscript available to us is in the Jaisalmer temple library. It is dated to AD 10,060. Two of the most important Jain religious books are Kalakacharya Katha and Kalpasutra. These books are important for the study of the aesthetics of Indian miniature tradition because these two books are widely illustrated and painted. The iconic figures with red background which we mentioned earlier usually are found in Kalpasutra. The illustrations of Kalakacharya Katha are different in their approach. The story of Kalakacharya Katha is that of the Jain monk Kalakacharya, who was trying to assemble an army with the help of many chieftains to avenge the abduction of his sister by a king. It may be surprising that the non-violent faith of Jain belief system has produced numerous paintings based on the theme of abduction and war. The second phase of Western Indian miniature is the paper phase. Paper was introduced into India by the Arabs and it was used to create painted books. The presence of a particular blue color, lapis lazuli, and the excessive use of gold ornamentation in the paintings of this period shows Arab influence. The presence of lapis lazuli in a mural painting can be seen also at a 6th century painting in Ajanta cave number 1. It shows King Pulikesh's court with 2 Persians. During the paper phase of painting, many influences coming into the miniature tradition can be seen. We see Chinese type clouds, foreign face types similar to those found in Mongol school of painting, etc. appear in paper phase, which extended to 16th century. The Tughlaq period saw destruction of paintings because of the iconoclastic faith. The period which followed was of Lodhis. Under the Lodhi kingdom, Muslim and Hindu styles began to merge and artists were employed to illustrate both religious and secular texts. One very important illuminated manuscript from this period was a popular romantic story, Laur Chanda. It was converted to verse by Mulla Daud in 1377 in Uttar Pradesh and titled Chandayan. The script of the manuscript is in Persian, but the language is Awadhi. This book continued to influence later poets and painters. Later, it developed into what is now known as the Chaur Panchasika group of manuscripts. It narrates the love story of the poet Bilhana with Champavati, the daughter of a king. Most books of the Chaur Panchasika group are exquisitely illustrated. The dominant rasa is Srinkara, mostly in Vipralambha form. I will explain the previous sentence a little more to make the terminology clear to you. Rasa is the aesthetic sentiment which is being revealed to the connoisseur. Rasas are considered to be 9 in number: Srinkara, the erotic; Hasya, the comic; Karuna, the tragic; Veera, heroic; Raudra, furious; Bhibalsa, disgust; Bhayanaga, terrifying; Adbhuta, wondrous; and Shanta, quietude. Some scholars suggest that Shanta is the essence of all other rasas and it was added at a later time to the list of rasas. It is also stated that though the rasas are 9 in number, really there is only one experience of rasa. This aesthetic experience of bliss is termed rasanubhuti. Srinkara is considered to be the most important rasa. It is related to Rati, the sexual creative energy. This theory may be considered analogous to the theory of eros formulated by Freud in 20th century. The sexual sentiment and its relation with the primordial creative energy is symbolically developed in Indian literature and art through centuries. Bhagavata Katha is an example. Bhakti movement, which became prominent during 12th to 16th century, gave prominence to the idea that the human soul craves for the union to the universal soul. The human soul is symbolically considered to be female, while the universal soul is symbolically treated as male. In some cults, like the Bhagavati cult, this role is reversed. It is in the paintings of Laur Chanda from the Delhi Sultanate period that we see the depiction of Srinkara as the chief sentiment for the first time in Indian miniature painting tradition. Srinkara is of 2 types, Vipralambha and Sambhoga. In Vipralambha, the lovers are separated and long to be together. This is symbolical of the Bhakta. The philosophy of renunciation we see in Jainism and Buddhism is very strong and masculine in its detachment, whereas in Bhakti movement it is feminine. In Sambhoga Sringara, the lovers are united in yoga. Laur Chanda, as a pioneer work among similar illustrated miniature books, does not seem to hold the element of bhakti in it. It seems to be a straightforward love story. The next major shift in the aesthetic approach in miniature painting happened during the Mughal era. Though the change started from the beginning of the Mughal period from 1530s, it became apparent during the reign of Humayun. The greatest shift happened at the time of Akbar. He created a well-established studio system where the artists were trained to execute miniature paintings in 1560s. Akbar became familiar with the working of a studio system and manuscript library at the Safavid court at Persia. Akbar ordered massive projects like the Hamsanama, Mahabharata, Harivamsha, etc. Hamsanama contained around 1400 paintings. It is in this period also that we see the image of working class people appearing in a miniature. The paintings of the construction of Fatehpur Sikri from the biography of Akbar, the Akbarnama, shows working class people doing various chores. The appearance of images other than for religious purpose marked a shift in aesthetics. We see albums of portraits created in the history of Indian art for the first time. Though in some earlier instances the image of donor patrons or kings were represented in some paintings and sculptures, they seem to be not an attempt at individual likeness. The images were universalized and stylized. Individual features were not given prominence. In literary tradition, there are references to portraiture, but portraiture as an established part of art activity became prevalent at Mughal period. This shift in attitude might have happened also because of the arrival of Westerners. Jesuit priests brought Western paintings to Mughal court, and there are instances of Mughal miniature artists copying them. But the chiaroscuro as seen in Western Renaissance art seems not to be in favor to Mughal taste. Albums showing flora and fauna were painted during this period. Pictures of various animals and plants, scientifically precise, were painted during the reign of Jahangir. An attempt at naturalism other than the stylized approach one usually sees in Indian miniature painting is visible in some of the works from this period. Due to the contact with Mughals, both through alliance and through war, Mughal style of miniature painting began to influence Rajasthani painting. They assimilated the style and created a style with distinctive features. The schools are now collectively labeled as Rajasthani miniature. During the reign of Aurangzeb, the studios were dismantled and artists were compelled to disperse. They had to travel to other regions to find work. Some painters like Pandit Seyu migrated to Pahari region. The sensibility of the patronage was different in Pahari kingdoms. The painters began to illustrate classics like the Gita Govinda. Krishna Gopika theme became popular in the region of Kangra and Guler. The refined style of Mughal miniature was adapted exquisitely by the Pahari painters. During 18th and 19th centuries, the family of Pandit Seyu settled in other Pahari kingdoms and spread the style. But it is in Kangra and Guler that we see the most refined figuration and paint handling. The aesthetic sensibility of the schools of Pahari region is dominated by the Krishna cult and the Bhakti movement. The movement was strong during 15th to 17th centuries and influenced every facet of life in the Indian subcontinent. Mystics like Kabir, Tukaram and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu vitalized the spirit of Bhakti. So it is also natural that the painters also chose to paint similar themes. There is another sociological reason suggested by historians as to why the Pahari kings chose to illustrate Krishna Gopika themes. The people of Pahari region were very poor due to the difficult living conditions, but the lifestyle of the kings were opulent. There are many schools of Pahari miniature, the exceptionally refined being Kangra and Guler. These schools can be discerned by the way the face of the female figures are rendered and the finish of the brushwork. White dominates most of the architectural rendering. National Museum of India holds a collection of these miniatures. The Basoli school of painting is another Pahari school of miniature of significance. Painters of Basoli use bright colors, especially a variety of chrome yellow. Images from Basoli school are dynamic compared to the soft and serene paintings of the Kangra Guler region. The lines are bold and expressionistic. The figuration shows motion. The eyes are big and a little protruding. Usually the paintings from Basoli, Kangra and Guler have ornamented border painted around the four sides. The Pahari region of the Garhwal Himalayas has created a distinctively different style. The aesthetic thought behind the school is comparable to other Pahari schools. The images show subjects from Hindu mythology. Vaishnavism is the dominant thought which drove the paintings of the region. Garhwal style usually uses a distinctive floral motif. Scholars use this feature to identify the school. Garhwal paintings are not as refined in their execution as the Guler Kangra style. It is evident from what we have learned so far is that the aesthetic process which drove the Indian miniature tradition is not singular. The evolution from the Jain period to the Pahari period spans a period of 1,000 years, and different schools and styles existed in the miniature tradition. The schools of the Rajasthani region and Deccani region also hold an important place in the aesthetic and historical development of Indian miniature tradition. There must have been an existing tradition of painting even before the arrival of Mughals in the Rajasthani region. According to scholars, Rajasthani miniature is eclectic. We find elements of popular Mughal style and influence from Lodhi Sultanate style mixed with the Jain miniature style. The Mewar school of miniature is considered to be the earliest school of Rajasthani miniature painting. The style of Mewar school is expressionistic and vibrant, but lacks the refinement and polish of other Rajasthani miniature schools like the Bikaner school. The Bikaner school is closer to the style of Mughals. It uses white architecture which is set like a stage where the characters are moving about. The trees are usually obliterated near the ground level by the architecture. The style is somewhat similar to the period of the Mughal prince Dara Shikoh. Classical literature seems to have an influence on the selection of themes for the paintings. The paintings show lovers enjoying different weather conditions, bathing ladies, hunting scenes, so on. Paintings remind us of the weather description in Kalidasa's Ritusamhara. Paintings from Kota kingdom have evolved into a very distinctive style. The hunting scenes of the schools are very interesting. They show forests filled with animals like tiger and deer. The kings along with retinue are usually shown hunting the animals. The paintings, even though depicting hunting scenes, do not evoke a sense of tragic action. They are dynamic with thriving plant and animal life. We will continue our discussion with the Kishangarh school of painting because it shows another interesting aspect which drove the selection of themes by the painters. Those of you who are interested in advertising design may be familiar with this school through an advertisement of Rajasthan tourism. The advertisement uses a profile portrait of a young lady painted in the Kishangarh style. The lady is the lover of the Prince of Kishangarh, Savan Singh. Her name is Banithani. Savan Singh is well known as a poet under the pseudonym Nagari Das. Kishangarh school uses the likeness of Savan Singh for Krishna and Banithani for Radha. Kishangarh school uses extreme elongation of the eye. Usually the Kishangarh lake is painted in the background. Like we have mentioned earlier, the sensibility of the patron played a powerful role in the development of a particular style. This aspect is clear to any student of art and aesthetics. Central Indian region also has produced schools of miniature like the Hyderabadi school. In 16th century, we see the emergence of distinguishable styles in the sultanates of Bijapur, Ahmednagar and Golconda with a strong Persian influence. Influence from Vijayanagar also played a role in early Deccani painting. After the conquest of Golconda by Mughals in 17th century, the school became known as the Hyderabadi school. We have briefly described the influences which shaped the aesthetics and stylistic evolution of Indian miniature tradition. To understand the themes better, one has to have a familiarity with the classical literature and musical traditions of India. For example, a type of paintings grouped together under the name Ragamala paintings take music as their focus theme. Ragamala paintings symbolically embody different ragas. The ragas are personified. The surrounding landscape is painted to suit the particular mood evoked by the raga. Female Raginis are also painted. These paintings are unique in their selection of theme in the world of art. To appreciate and understand the symbolism of the Ragamala series, one should understand the nuances of Indian music. Now it is time we conclude this session. Bye.